Hey guys, I thought we thought we would do a quick video just to celebrate 6 years of Seriously Series.
Because we missed the 5th anniversary, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Too busy filming.
And it doesn't feel like 6 years old.
No. So we're just going to have a bit of a reminisce of the adventures that we've done over the 6 years, where it all started, and some of the highlights. And obviously today, as we're filming this, we've also got the Tasmanian premiere of Road to Ruin, which is a pretty, well, we think it's a pretty big deal. We'll leave it up to you. So yeah, anyway, I guess they can stay tuned, can't they, Dave?
Yeah, if you want.
There you go. Yeah, so 6 years. As you said, Damon, it certainly doesn't feel like 6 years. It'll be 6 years in April, I think, as we set off around about the 20 something of March 2015. And yeah, it was very different because I was looking at moving to Western Australia, but you were looking for something else, weren't you, Damon?
Yeah, I was looking for a project to do for my final year of media studies. So I needed they call it well, it's not a short film, but it's like a feature length project, and I didn't want to do a feature film, like short film. I wanted to do a documentary, and I'd always been talking to Geoff about landies and everything, and he mentioned that, and I think it was just one night, maybe after work or something, had a cup of tea, and I think that's when it kind of evolved from there.
Yeah, because I was driving from Tasmania to Western Australia. Is quite a long walk, as a gentleman put it, that we met in a pub on the way. And you need a lot of horses to get all the way over there, as he also put it. So the costs of actually driving, 3,000 or 5,000 kilometres, which it essentially was, you're looking at close to, I think back then it was, I calculated about $800 in fuel or something like that. So that's a lot of money when you're not earning much, and I just wasn't having much luck with my career prospects at the time. And so I was looking for someone to come along, a friend, to share the adventure with, because I hadn't done anything like that before, and on my own. And I also, split the fuel bill. So I think we just had a chat, and you said it worked good for you.
Yeah.
And then I said, and this was all in early January 2015, and I said, I want to go as soon as I can. But the ferry from Tasmania to Melbourne had like a 6-week delay, I think it was, which we ended up spending 6 weeks working on the series 2 anyway. So, yeah, and I knew nothing about using a camera and social media and that. That's all Damon, who's done all that over the years. So yeah, it's worked out really well.
Yeah, and I think that particular trip kind of opened up many kind of ideas to, because we just initially did it as a one-off kind of thing, and then like I can remember when we were sitting, I think it was having something to eat after our very last day when we got to Geoff's dad's place, because he was living there at the time.
In Bunbury.
Yeah. And we were sitting there having our first meal, proper meal for a long time. And we kind of knew, this is something we kind of want to keep doing.
Yeah, sort of I guess our calling, you could say. And Damon, we dropped him off at the airport, and as many of you know, I ended up getting some offers for jobs in Kalgoorlie. So I ended up doing a full service on the Series 2 and then driving right back out to Kalgoorlie, and that's sort of for me where my life sort of took a dramatic turn for the better. And I went there with nothing more than a swag, and everything went from there. 6 months later, we both actually met our partners in Kalgoorlie. Damon met his when we stopped over for a couple of nights. I met mine 6 months later. So, it was worthwhile stopping off to Cal.
I think so.
We say that on good days. But and then you went back, and then you had to obviously edit it all. And it was a pretty big task, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was just kind of figuring out what we had, because I hadn't done anything of that scale, and even the people that were mentoring me at the time, they didn't really have an idea. They kind of broke it down and gave me some ideas, but kind of just made it up and just followed the story. And when I had something there, Geoff had some narration that he wanted to put in, which made it totally it just made that kind of film kind of progress the storyline, which is all on our channel, and you can see. So that Heading West was actually my final assessment for that year. So, and I got full marks, so that was good.
It's always a bonus, isn't it? But it is quite difficult, and I don't think people talk about this enough on YouTube. When it comes to actually putting something together, it's not just get your iPhone out, a selfie stick and run. You've actually got to think about it a bit. And Damon had a huge task with that. Like, you'd done a lot of other stuff with film before. But it's one thing being a cameraman, it's another thing actually editing and then directing it, which is what Damon did. And I'd only had limited exposure to the film industry. I think I did a Mitre 10 commercial with kayaks, and then a couple other little commercials just for fun, really. And the hit, that was our first Landy film together, which was good fun. But to then get that limited experience and then take something that has multiple stories running through it, which it does. So we called ourselves Seriously Series because, if you haven't figured it out, we really, really, really like series Land Rovers. And so the whole, sequence of films was going to be just about series Land Rovers. So that's why I thought Seriously Series. Damon said it sounded okay. We were going to be heading west, so we called it Heading West. But we had my story in there as to why I was making this life-changing trip. And then there was the story of the series Land Rovers in there and the people that own them. And then there was also, the history of the areas that we were travelling through, like the Nullarbor Plain. And for me, what I wanted to do was create some films and documentaries that I myself would actually find interesting, because Damon and myself had chatted about it at great length. There's a lot of people doing four-wheel drive travel shows, but that's all they were. It was just driving a vehicle from point A to point B. And for me, I found that it wasn't really sort of showing everything that it could be. We live in a wonderful part of the world. It doesn't matter where we are. And there's a heck of a lot more to it than just driving.
I think that's what kind of makes us a little bit different work. One, we have a pretty tight niche of Land Rovers, in particular series Land Rovers, and I don't really know any other channels or any other people that are doing what we are doing, maybe just on a one-off, but we're doing it kind of a lot more than anyone else, I would say.
Definitely. And that it sort of started getting serious, you could say, probably about a year or two later after doing Heading West. We'd both moved off into different areas. I was working in mining, particularly underground at that stage, and Damon had moved off into other areas. We're doing a variety of different jobs, which is what happens here in Tassie. You become a jack of all trades. And I sort of found that my calling may have not been necessarily in mining. And luckily at that stage, I was earning a half-decent wage. Damon was earning a reasonable wage too. And that's when we sort of came up with the idea after the suggestion of a friend of ours, Ben Broder, to sort of do the Canning stock route. And I sort of wanted to do it. Damon, I guess, I don't know how you felt about it, but it was to try and make one big production of it, to make that four-wheel drive travel series that sort of showed more about the environment, a bit more like Malcolm Douglas or Les Hiddens or Harry Butler, you could say. So that's where sort of the concept of Road to Ruin came about, and sort of everything did sort of, I guess, run away a little bit with it in regards to, we got sponsors on board, something we'd never ever done before, and I'm certainly nothing special. I don't know about Damon, but that was just lots of calls, making lots of phone calls, getting to know people and persisting with it. You don't call people up and get tyres discounted for nothing. It takes months and months and months of phone calls. So.
Yeah.
And the filming side of it was quite
a
big effort too, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I was so used to at that stage. I'd done quite a few big productions, and I'd had the normality of a production crew and producers and people who do it for a living kind of thing. And I've always just done it like as a hobby, really, a professional hobby. So it's just it was kind of doing it all the production side, and also trying to organise like the storyline and just how the shots were going to come out against that storyline. Kind of like you had the kind of like script and the history of everything, and you just got to try and fit it all in. And at the end of the day, it was just you just got to have the camera out. If you see opportunities, just film them, and you get the key bits that you said you'd get. But things changed. Like that trip, everything changed.
It did. And for those of you that have seen the film, you'll know that for sure. And I guess one of the things I sort of learned a lot about myself from that experience. And one of the things I learned, particularly when it comes to doing these kind of films, is not to be too particular. If you say we want to get a particular spot at 3:45 and it's there so we can get a particular scene, forget about it. It's just not going to happen. It's just too difficult. So the shot list that we did for part 3, Edge of the Earth, which we've just finished filming, was, I think you said it, Damon, very loose.
Yeah,
but it's what works. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, even like locations, like you can get somewhere and it'll just look rubbish because of the time of day, the light that's coming through on that particular hour. You just got to, alright, so go somewhere else, plan B.
Yeah.
So it's just it's not a good practice to have your heart and mind set on one location, and you can turn up and it's rubbish.
Well, I guess that happened on our next series, which we started, called Edge of the Earth, and particularly with part 1. So the concept behind that was that we wanted to do more adventures, but we didn't want to outlay the kind of costs, both time and with cash, to produce things like Road to Ruin, because it's very expensive. And so we thought, well, why not do it here in Tasmania? Tasmania seems pretty hip at the moment, so that's where we thought, well, why not do some adventures around here? So the aim was to go from the east coast of Tassie right over to the west coast, but the first time we did that, it just kind of all fell apart. Primarily because there was, I think 2 weeks prior, was it? There was the worst floods in 80 years. So everywhere that we'd planned to go, majority of the bridges were washed out, and we were stuck for time, and it just didn't really work.
No.
But anyway, some people have said they've enjoyed it, so that's great. But yeah, I think with what you're saying, like it's just an absolute fluke, because when we did part 2, we went to the west coast of Tassie, and it can just rain non-stop for weeks, and we just got perfect weather. So,
No, we're lucky. And that's just an example of how things can go well. Like that was a trip where nothing really went wrong, and
No.
we just planned it. Like at the start of the day, it would be like, let's go here. If we lose time, we'll just do it here, and we didn't rush at all.
No. We actually filmed that episode backwards too. So we actually drove out to the west coast, and that was our primary goal. We shot it there, and then we went back, heading back towards Hobart. And so that way it just took all the stress out of it, because we knew we'd got to the destination that we wanted to. Anything else was just in between and just a bonus, really. So.
Yeah, and that worked well. Like that's the power of making your own films, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can make you see whatever we want you to see.
Within reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been interesting, and I guess for us now, we're sort of reaching a point where we're trying to produce these videos once a week, which produces its own challenges, because Damon's working full time. I've got my own little business off on the side too. So juggling that's a bit interesting. Damon being here in Tassie, myself being in Western Australia, that produces its own set of, not problems, but sort of things you have to work around. And we're sort of hoping things with the cinematic release of Road to Ruin sort of go okay, and for that to sort of help to finance the bigger future endeavours like what we're planning to do later this year.
So it's good to see that, like all these cinematic releases we've got, well, I think so far we've had nearly all sold out.
Yeah, there's literally Kalgoorlie, we had 4 seats left. Perth was incredible because there was literally a lockdown right up to the day before the film was shown, and we still had, I think we had 240 seats filled out of 270, which is insane. It's really amazing.
Yeah. And it's looking good here too, isn't it?
It's looking very good. We've had, I think, just over 130 tickets sold out of 150. So that's really, really good. So it's a big relief for Damon and myself, because even just producing that film was a bit of a logistical nightmare. Just with stuff going on in our own lives. I spent 6 months working out in the bush in the desert, and then you spent 9 months away.
Yeah. So that had its own challenge, especially when we're just trying to do it amongst everything else. We've got our day jobs, we've got our personal life, and then there's always something else.
Well, there's land drugs too. Yeah.
So what comes first? Like obviously the important stuff, and then the cars, and then you've got Seriously Series, and then like all our other stuff as well. So
yeah,
just juggling it all together is just a little bit difficult sometimes. So but we get there.
Yeah, and that's sort of why things can sometimes take a little bit longer, but we certainly hope that they're worth the wait. Something that we've wanted to do is find like-minded individuals out there, like yourself watching this video. And so what we've done is we've put up a number of videos on YouTube, particularly like the Servicing Your 4x4 series, which is stuff that I've learned over the years, Damon's learned over the years, and we just sort of feel that's really important to share what knowledge we have. We don't know everything, and we're not experts. So that's sort of why we've done that. The camp cooking is just something I sort of enjoy doing, and Damon's enjoyed some of the better productions of that I've done over the years. And likewise, Damon's a good cook too. So that's sort of why we've done those things. The Origin series is a passion of mine, because I have a real passion for sort of history and engineering and how things are made and why they're constructed and all the rest. And that's sort of the YouTube side of it, and that's why we've sort of done that. And because it is different to what you get out there on YouTube. There's a lot of very generic videos, and that's one thing that, though we might not get the million views per video, that's not what we're really about. It's about actually producing videos that we want to produce to people who we believe will really appreciate it. So.
Yeah, bringing value to people.
That's right. And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They look at a channel, they look at a video and they go, there's 1 million views and there's 200,000 subscribers or whatever. And I'm not discouraging that at all, that's a massive achievement. But I think Damon and myself feel that though we might not have a huge amount of subscribers, we have a dedicated audience. You know, we've got people who are on there putting a comment when the video pops up saying I'm first, you know, which is fantastic, you know. So we really do thank all of you who put your comments down and your thoughts over the years, and particularly your constructive feedback and that too. That's really important. Big thank you. Yeah, big thank you to everyone. Big thank you to obviously the companies that we've worked with and we continue to work with. Big thank you to our regular viewers and our army of subscribers, and obviously those of you who've joined us on Patreon. It makes a big difference. I'm not joking when I say it. It really does make a big difference. And those of you who've been very loyal right from the start, who've supported us via PayPal, we really do appreciate that too. And we'll leave it there, hey? No worries. Thank you. We'll see you in our next video.